Hey, I'm going to be doing a summary on Chapter 10, How Do We Avoid? And it's presented by Holly Metzger-Brown. Let's take a closer look on the chapter. The number one rule of how do we avoid is we have to recognize it. The environment puts us up into adaptive avoidance. These are some examples. In order to avoid being cold from the weather, we have to wear a jacket. Avoid getting sunburned when it's sunny out, we use sunscreen. We also protect ourselves by having multiple insurances to avoid possibly a lawsuit or an inconvenience payment if your car would get smashed or you needed to have that money. 401ks is another great example of adaptive avoidance of when we get at an more of a mature age and we retire, we will need funds to survive. So we have a 401k to avoid not having any money. And people who participate in all of these things have control of the things that they do, that the environment has presented itself. Therefore, we do things to avoid contingencies as discussed in the past slide. Most people prepare for the worst possible thing to happen. You can see it's not about making yourself stronger because you think you're weak. It's the environment that controls the weakness. So by strengthening your environment and setting your environment up, it then will set you up for success. So you see here, this person they're setting up the environment to be successful. We take a closer look of examples of control. Here's an example of you have something you want to do. You want to start running. You set up your environment. You put your sneakers out by the door. You put your water bottle out the door. You're setting yourself up to go and participate in that behavior of running. And that running then gives you endorphins, and that's your positive reinforcer, and it'll keep on happening. So let's check out the next slide. Escape. People escape from the world in many areas. Some examples are if punishment and coercion are happening in school, students are more likely to escape and not go into school. Churches who have rituals that are not providing positive reinforcement, there's escape from churches that people will never go back. There's also homes who have strict rules and punishment behavior, don't go back. In fact, a lot of those people who escape these areas live a completely different lifestyle. Let's take a little bit more about community responsibility that was touched in this chapter. They kept on saying, it's not my problem. You see it, you hear it probably in the community that you live in. Most people, unfortunately, participate in saying it's not my responsibility. They avoid doing things. They become very uninvolved. Hear nothing, see nothing, didn't happen, speak nothing. They become very distant from their community as far as what's really going on, as far as people that are hungry. the people that are ill. They look at them a certain way, as suggested in the book, saying they're stupid, lazy. And why we do that, suggested in the book, is we protect ourselves from unpleasant and inconvenient moments. We shrug the community off. Well, why do we avoid? Mentioned earlier, avoid shock. And the shock would be inconvenience, disturbance of the schedule, bumping out your regular, ordinary routine, and that people don't really get involved. A great example would be voting. They always talk about how they want to get people out and vote. People don't vote. In Pennsylvania, we don't get off work. So it's a good example. Disturbance. Well, won't be able to, will get lack of pay because they have to go to work, rearranging their schedules. Lines are long. People are pushing out, giving handouts. And then some people don't even know how to work the polls. And those are real contingencies of why people aren't going out and vote. So one of the things suggested in the book that was really fascinating to me is to increase voters, which I always said, allow the person to have off work, have paid work, maybe busing, no lines, maybe mail in or do an online voting registration. And then also I think umbrellas to make it a little bit more easier for people to come out and vote and more attractive. So I really liked reading about that because we can all relate to that. Disturbing of schedules, especially if you live in an area that doesn't practice those things. Why isn't anyone going to blow the whistle? Well, for colleagues, if something happens in your workplace, people tend to look away and avoid what really happened, even though if they know their bosses and colleagues aren't being responsible. It's none of my business, people say. They don't want to get fired, shifting positions, being demoted. So they keep quiet. So we move on to talk about sales tops product versus quality. So one of the things that they said in the books is if it sells, it must be good. And I came to my mind about so many things, and I don't know if it's because social media allows me to know, but so many things are on recall. Car seats, strollers, binkies, toys, the Rev scooter things that were out a while ago, cell phone chargers. Is it because we're forcing so much on sell, make more product, and now the quality is going down? For instance, I live in a home that was built in the 1900s. Any carpenter that comes in here and does work is like, wow, you have such great bones to this house. I feel maybe back in the day, they were like, let's worry about the quality of the house and not how much money we can get off the home itself. Now it's like, hurry up and buy, hurry up and buy, hurry up and sell. So I found that the chapter when they talked about that, also you can relate to those things. If your corporate agency or you've been around, everyone thinks about the sales rather than the quality or customer service, you kind of get sucked into that world when people are thinking about sales. Also, financial gains. It's happening in healthcare more than anything else. Education, you can see in the education system, it's like, who can get that grant money? How much money can you get for this? If we do this, we can get that money. And I put there, because I see it in the youth sports world, how much money can we make, families are traveling all over. Everyone's making money off youth sports. Youth sports is increasing in revenue profits. But the quality of coaching is very suspect. So that's why I threw that in there. Going on to the next slide, as you can see, the quality at the expense of profitability. Cohesive pressures. And what that is with the modern day lifestyles that we live in, admin, agency, and organizations, it is increasing the more cohesive pressures that are happening at the expense of making money. So my question leads us to is money, power, and coercion practices are what America was built on. Knowing money is one of the top reinforcers, and learning in this chapter that money is guiding agencies and corporations' decision-making and coercive pressure. What would be a replacement behavior of CEOs who lead these organizations? And my reference. Thank you.